Hey everybody, welcome to our webinar today, Cutting Edge Trends in Pen Testing and Bug Bounty Hunting. Super excited to be with you all. We're super excited to have Ben join us today to just show off some cool stuff, and as well as our head of AI and pen tester as well, Mike Bell. Everybody kind of knows probably who I am. I'm just really excited about this because having been, I really have to claim being a former pen tester now because I'm out of practice. So I'm really excited about this in this session, just to kind of keep learning new things. I love asking questions, so I know I'm going to probably probe you guys a lot, but really excited for the session today. And thanks for joining us on the webinar. A couple of housekeeping items. If you have any questions or comments or want to learn more about anything, just leave them in the chat and we'll get to them as soon as we can. There is going to be a survey at the end of this webinar, so we really encourage you to fill that out, and we will announce the Amazon gift card winners at the end. We'll announce that, on LinkedIn. We'll announce those on LinkedIn. So make sure you kind of stay tuned to see if you won the gift card, but we really appreciate you joining us. As you know, as I mentioned, I'm Dan DeCloss, founder, CTO. Mike is our head of AI. Ben, do you mind just kind of giving a brief introduction to yourself? Because for those that may not be aware or just learn more
Yeah,
about it. So.
absolutely. Hi, I'm Ben. Most people online know me as the Homesick. I've been doing ethical hacking and bug bounties for over a decade now. I can claim that finally and say I've been doing it for over a decade professionally. Currently, I work, I do bug bounties on the side and have my own pen testing going on. And also, I'm CEO and co-founder of Hacking Hub, where we plan on training and educating the next generation of hackers.
Awesome. And Mike, I mean, while we've had you on several marketing events before and webinars and things like that, please just do another brief round of intros for those that may not know who you are.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mike Bell, head of AI right now at PlexTrac, and yeah, background in penetration testing, exploit development, those kind of things, big data, and eventually AI hacking, things like that. But then, building the AI for PlexTrac, kind of infusing my domain knowledge with what we're trying to do here. So yeah, just a lot of hacking, breaking into places, having fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, super excited to have everybody here today. And so here's kind of the general agenda for today. We're going to talk about AI and the impact that it has both on pen testing, attacker advantages or disadvantages, and then also maybe how you hack AI or just learn a little bit about how it's transforming the landscape. Dive into some cutting edge trends that we're going to see and just discuss on some of the latest advancements and how people can really start to get into pen testing and learn more about bug bounty and what are some strategies to keep upgrading your skills and because we all know, like I said, I kind of joked at the beginning, I'm a little out of practice, but I've been in the space. I know how much you have to kind of stay on top of like the latest exploits and the latest techniques and even trying to find additional vectors for whether it's in a web app or a mobile app or your more traditional network pen test, just understanding the new techniques and things that people are using. So that's our goal for today too, is just to really help educate the audience and have some fun doing it. So I'm gonna exit out of the slides here. And let's just dive in. First off, so for both of you, and maybe we'll start with Ben. What impact has AI? Are you seeing AI have in the landscape? Since I guess there's different forms of AI, but I think probably everyone's kind of more curious about the Gen AI landscape and what impact it's having on both pen testing and bug bounty in general.
Yeah, I think with starting with the bug bounty side of things, one, like, it's having a effect in a lot of different ways. One, from like the doing things, like as a hacker wanting to do stuff, it's become, I no longer really do Google searches, if that makes sense, and just more going towards like a whatever model I have in the CLI and just typing into my command line because it's just easier to just open up CLI, type it in, and get an answer for it. That's one of them. And I also think from like a bug bounty perspective, from a bug bounty program perspective, you see a lot of companies that are super focused on their new AI, chat bots that they want to get tested. And There's a huge shift in almost every company you go to. You go to banks that have a new AI assistant. You go to shopping sites that have an assistant, right? And I think there's a shift also in the trend that has become in bug bounties. Where the original bug bounty thing was web. Hey, give us our website, hackers are gonna find stuff in them. Then it was like, oh, we have mobile apps. Oh wait, there's like IoT and cars, and then it was blockchain, and then now you have AI, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that trend is happening, and this year I think AI is going to be the biggest trend for it all, and I think it's probably one of the more, I want to say, fun trends than you saw blockchain being massive, ASM becoming massive, and I think AI just has more to it than anything else.
That's a good point. So you're seeing a trend in not only utilizing AI, but also the bounties around it. So as companies are launching their new AI capabilities, opening up bounty programs around that. Have you seen any bigger payouts related to those yet, or what's some of the more substantial findings that
Yeah,
people are reporting?
I can't specifically say like the company name, but I've been doing a lot of these different like events and private, bug bounties, and you see some of these events, there is an entire category of just AI. The last 3 or 4 events that I've gone that are the competitions that HackerOne hosts, and they pay millions. The AI stuff always has a bigger bonus, has a bigger payout. And also it's, fairly done because it's like it's a more niche knowledge. You either know how to do prompt injection or you don't. It's just very hard to find a talent that wants to do it, and it's just a lot of it's like I don't want to say it's a puzzle because like I feel like almost every aspect of hacking is a puzzle, but this is a genuine like puzzle that you have to find ways around it, right? But yeah, there has been an increase in payouts, and you also have like the AI companies, like you have your OpenAI, who's got a massive bug bounty program that they're even spending thousands of dollars to secure their products and their models too. So yeah, I want to say there has been a massive increase in those bounty payouts. And hopefully this is one of those trends that sticks. Every year with cybersecurity, those change, but I think this one is probably going to be the one that doesn't go away after a few years.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I see a lot of, even just from the flip side of that, the governmental and the regulation. A lot of companies are putting this stuff in and they want to have, the regulatory framework around it. And so those bug bounty programs and even just the pen testing, from a consulting side, there's, it's increasing in terms of requirements and with how much it's proliferated around, like you were saying, Ben, everybody's got a chat app. I remember back when was it Ford, one of the Ford dealerships got it, and they said something about, can you sell me a car for $1? And the
Legal
AI,
binding.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I definitely see it as a huge vector for a lot of things going forward.
Yeah, it also becomes really like interesting to see how it works like compliance, right? Like are we gonna have AI training in compliance like we did with phishing and things
Oh
like
wow.
that? That's one
Yeah.
that I think is going to be big. If someone's going to do it, we should probably get that trademark. But I
yeah.
genuinely think there is going to be a need because I have friends of mine that work in other industries, and they are not allowed to use any form of AI at work because the employer is afraid of them leaking information in there. But people are going to find a way around it, right? So I'm
Mhm.
just curious to see also if there's going to be a trend of like compliance with AI for
Yeah.
companies and trainings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely saw that too, where companies knee-jerk reaction is to shut off AI, don't allow any access to it. And, obviously head of AI, but I advocate, control your AI. Like if you're gonna have it, people are gonna find a way around it. It's out there, Pandora's box is open. So if they're gonna use it in a way that the organization controls and owns that data that's being sent to the AI. And I see that as like the only way to get it, usage across those environments and the value delivered. So
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see how it all plans out. I think it's just at a super, super like early stages for a lot of these things. I think like AI itself is progressing very fast, but it's still from like a consumer, I want to say, like the individuals that are using it, not everyone's fully taking it in, and we don't know how to train these people that are Even cybersecurity folks make mistake with AI a lot of times, right? But then what are we going to expect from folks that are not in cybersecurity? Or even like somebody like I don't know, like my mom or my dad that are the older generation that are intrigued by AI. I just introduced my mom to using ChatGPT to translate things, right? I'm like, Mom, just speak into this, it will do it for you. It's like, oh my God, like how do I get this on my phone, right? But how do we protect those people too? So I think it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's like any technology, I mean, it's always going to stay ahead of like it's always going to keep a faster pace than any kind of general regulations can provide. But I think we're kind of seeing that it's probably to a degree, I think we'll have some self-regulation, as we kind of learn more about it in the newer technology. I mean, that's fascinating. You mentioned that like that not only is it a big craze, but there's a lot of focus on like, hey, how are we securing it? How have you seen it maybe assist, or like has it given you more opportunities as part of like your bounty hunting and pen testing? This is for both of you, right? In terms of like adapting it into your engagements and whatnot.
I would say,
Yeah, I was saying, Mike, if you
yeah.
want to kick us off.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I would say for some of this stuff, it lowers that barrier to entry. Pen testers are hitting all kinds of environments all the time with thousands and thousands of technologies at play. And so an error message or a log message from a random technology that they've got a pen test, they think there's a vulnerability there, but they're not exactly sure. So the natural language processing and stuff like that about lowering that barrier entry, I think is really kind of giving the pen testers and the practitioners a new tool in their tool bag.
Yeah, I want to say similar to you. I think it's for like just contextualizing things has been really, really fun. And also, so yeah, I live in the terminal a lot of times, right? Being able to just pipe my, curl, for example, like an output from a website that I'm seeing, maybe I can make sense of it, right? And just having somebody else that could get a second look that is not me and it's not my friends, and I have to ask somebody a question of like, hey, do you know what this is? It gives you a really good way to get context of what you're doing. So it goes hand in hand with what you were saying, Mike, about if there's a vulnerability there and things like that. Also, it goes beyond like I think context too. It's I don't know if we call it idea generation or extending your ideas of what you can do with it. It's really interesting. There's been a couple of instances of like I get some file name that I can't figure out what the rest of this path could be, right? And I go, hey, I have this thing. Can you guess it? Or I'm hacking a site that is in a different language and I need some information in that language because of the endpoints. And I give it a list and I go extend this. And it could do that for me without me having to use a Google Translator that doesn't know the context of what I'm doing, right? So I think a lot of that has been massively helpful. And honestly, it's becoming like a second nature, 4 or 5 years ago, the first thing you would do is copy paste, copy an error, throw it into Google in the quotation
Yep.
marks, and hope somebody else has done it, right? I don't have to do that anymore. It's second nature to just pipe it into a tool, give it a question, and say, make sense of this for me. And it's becoming so much easier. And I'm just excited, genuinely excited to see like how much more we can do, especially with the new models that are coming up. But that's just from like
Yeah.
applying AI, right? There's just like so much more things we can do with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a post, I think this morning, based off of the new O1 preview from OpenAI, and there was a CTF happening, and the Docker container actually failed to start. And so on its own, it recommended, starting the Docker container with this command and then piping in cat flag.txt, which started the Docker container and put in the Docker logs the
Wow.
flag. So there was it's interesting to see the different workarounds, that we may not think of all the time that I've seen a lot in CTFs, especially, brute forcing the flag instead of actually going to find it. But
Right.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Or even like code reviewing stuff. Like a lot of times, some of these like CTFs, it's a stack that I'm not familiar with. I can just be like, hey, they gave me the source code. Like, here's a code, and I've had it give me some really good ideas. I think the last CTF I played on our Discord, we were looking for some like vulnerability. We had no clue what it was, and they gave me the source code finally. And you feed it to the AI, and it's like, this could be vulnerable to like path traversal X, Y, and Z. And it turned out to be path traversal. So it was very cool to see that quick like something else. I don't have to read, massive amounts of code, give me some idea for especially someone that likes that's like me that does a lot of black box testing, right? And it made it very, very interesting to see like, wow, you were actually onto something good. Like you actually helped me figure this out. And I don't think there was any other way of doing that besides AI to get an answer like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen it really work really well with obfuscation too. Passing it a payload and saying, obviously this is obfuscated, but can you help me break this down? And not even say just decode it, but say what methods were used to obfuscate this? Can you backtrack or reverse what was used? And then you can just go and do those things yourself or have it do it. But I
Yeah.
think, a lot of that, yeah, it's really making it a lot easier for people to kind of not be scared to approach these technologies.
Yeah, no, I mean it's fascinating, and I think, but I mean, what's exciting and also a little bit nerve-wracking is how accurate it can be in like writing exploits and, and stuff like that. So it can definitely speed up your engagements and use it to your advantage, but also knowing that that the attackers and the threat actors are also going to have the same the
Mhm.
same if not more resources at their disposal. We've talked a lot about AI. I'm curious, what have you guys seen? I mean, are there any other trends that you've been seeing in kind of the bug bounty and pen testing realm? What are some of the other things that you may have been seeing recently, or quote unquote cutting edge, and would love to kind of see what you're thinking there. So
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit. I think before we met, I was doing some of my report writing with AI. I used Claude for a lot of them. So I have this like client of mine, and it's like, hey, we need you to have this report. And it's like Tuesday, and they're like, hey, we need this report by Friday, like way before the deadline. I'm like, guys, like, I have 10 more days. Like, no, 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 we moved our deadline. Like, we need it to be done by Friday. Uh, Honestly, I never thought it would be doable, but giving Claude like just the topics of each vulnerability without the endpoints, vuln types, and then like just giving those like 10, 15 bullet points and saying, hey, write me an executive report or an executive summary, actually, not the report. And then spitting it out was like, I looked at it like, oh my God, that just saved me so much time because I have to think about like, okay, how do I write this first of all? Because like every report has to be, it's different, right? You can't just give the same summary to every client. So it's like, I just saved time not having to worry about the structure of it. I didn't have to write a single word of it. And you start with that, and then you go to the next section, and you go, I wonder if you could give me some good like remediation stuff, like based on these
Mhm.
trends. You give it that, and it's like, and this is like, by the way, not it's a model that's trained for everything, right? It's like not even cybersecurity. It just blew my mind. I wrote this like 30-page report in a matter of like Friday 9 to 2. And it was like one of the best reports I written, and the client was amazed by it. And I walk into my buddy's office, and he's like, "Dude, you wrote that really quick." And I was like, "AI for you, buddy, but don't repeat this to your client." And his immediate reaction is like, "Did you share the vulnerabilities?" I'm like, "Nope. All I have to do was give it exactly the vulnerability types we have found, and it just picks up the trend really very easily." And then when I heard from you guys, I'm like, "Oh my God, where were you guys a month ago?" I think that's you guys in Vegas. I'm like, "Oh my God, where were you guys a month ago when I had to like do this with Claude?" So that's one of the other ones. It goes beyond that. It's just you can give it a something to write, and it just someone like me who's not really as you know I don't practice writing as often anymore. It's just quick to do that for me, and again, it's a model that's trained on everything, and it could do that. So that's been a really, really cool one. As far as like report writing goes, but also with hacking, it's like you have these tedious tasks when you do bug bounties. That's like, hey, give us like a profile summary for your page. I'm like, I don't know what I want to write with this. Write one for me. So there's like writing has been a really cool one with AI on both ends of it.
Yeah, and that was my big my big desire too. Was like, how can I shorten my report writing? Time is money, right? And so yeah, that was a big driving factor behind our integration with PlexTrac and AI. And just yeah, I noticed like how much time I was spending writing out my own stuff. And I'm not going to say that hackers are or pen testers are bad at writing, but I'm going to. um, but no, I mean it was a natural trend, especially for PlexTrack to kind of have it. And so yeah, I probably more than anything the generative stuff I really like because it really helps me not have to write those things. So
I think the
Yeah.
number one question usually when we launch a pen test with us, it's like, who's writing this report? And like the bigger the report gets, the less likely people want to do it. But yeah, that's I think it's just again like applying. I love the term of like applying AI has been one that I've explored a lot. I've really enjoyed it with like different aspects of things like write a recommendation letter for somebody. You have to write one, and I was like, I've never like I haven't done one of these like years. And I was like, what do I like about this person? Like, okay, boom, boom, boom. There's like the 5, 6 things that I think this person is great at. And I was like, hey, write a recommendation letter. Came out, I'm like, oh my God, yes, this doesn't even sound like me, but it sounds way better than I do.
Yeah, and then like on the flip side of that, cutting edge trends for like the negative side, not negative, but the the attack vectors is like I saw one a couple weeks ago where they were able to get an RCE from an email. They sent an email that had a prompt injection in it, and because the system's AI, so Recall was reading all the emails, and the built-in AI was reading all the emails. It initiated that prompt injection and then ran the RCE that it was told to take. And so, yeah, the cutting edge trends in that space too, making sure that however you're implementing AI is secure, and there's always going to be new attack vectors. So.
Are there trends you're seeing outside of AI, just in general, like in terms of like new techniques or tactics within pen testing and bug bounty that are kind of shaping how engagements are moving forward? Or, I mean, is the buzz pretty much all around AI today?
I think a lot of it is AI. I think when you go to like RSA or like Black Hat, you can see where that trend is headed. You see that keyword repeating itself so much throughout the halls. And I think with this time, it's very much AI because it's not like let's just say like not to talk down on blockchain. I know, but let's just say blockchain, right? Was one of the recent ones. A company that's in hospitality, let's say I don't know, like an Airbnb, doesn't make sense for them to get into blockchain. But does it make sense to have AI like help you with like booking things and telling you things about your booking and things like that? Yeah, it makes more sense, right? I think there is a lot that could be done with AI that's become a bigger trend. And I think a lot of it is shifting that way. It's not to say, there are not any new web hacking techniques coming out. No, there are a lot of them coming out. I think uh, every everything that we see though with web is an extension of previously done research. With AI, however, or with blockchain, when these trends happen, you get a reset. You get a reset of research that could be happening based on this new trend. So with AI, it's just there's so many things that you can do that it's just it's just like similar to web. You have your server side vulnerabilities, you have your database vulnerabilities, you have your client side vulnerabilities, right? And that happens also with AI. And then I think this is just giving us a reset into what we get research wise, whether it's in cybersecurity, whether it's the impact of AI in our lives and everything like that, right? With social studies and things like that. I think it gives us a really good reset of starting brand new research.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I mean, it's fascinating. So, all right, let's.
Unfortunately, I heard one of my kids refer to it as just ask chat, not even chat GPT, not AI, just ask chat. Like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely gonna continue to have an impact in everything that we do. I'd like to shift gears a little bit and maybe get into a little bit more hands-on, or just kind of like even more in depth on some of the technical stuff. The whole notion of this webinar was to kind of talk about some of the cutting edge trends, learn a little bit more about how AI is making an impact in bug bounty and pen testing. But how would we encourage someone to either get started in pen testing and bug bounty, and then B, kind of continue to level up their skills? What are some tips and tricks that you can share, that you guys can both share kind of with the audience? And if there's anything that we wanted to demo, or I don't, if there's anything you wanted to share that would be kind of like, hey, this is these would be some great resources, like would love to learn a little bit more from you guys.
Yeah,
yeah.
Mike,
I
if you
mean,
want to kick us off with pen test, I think the two approaches are different with pen tests and bug bounties. I mean, Mike can kick us off with pen tests, and then I can talk about a little bit with bug bounties. They're similar, but I think they're different in some ways too.
yeah. I mean, from a resource perspective, there's, a bunch of companies that are putting out courses and stuff to get spun up on it. And, just I can say the best way to go after it is just to build it yourself, and you can see where all the vulnerable points are. But, companies like SecOps Group and a few other ones are offering LLM and AI hacking courses. And so, there's great resources out there for that, looking on Hack the Box and things like that. I think they've got a couple coming up that are going to incorporate that. So, and then, the hub of all knowledge, YouTube. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would say there's a bunch of information out there right now, and it's just got to get after it, like everything else in cybersecurity.
Yeah, I think the days of like not having enough resources for learning is like they're long gone. You know, 8, 9 years ago, and 10 years ago when I first started, you had like your DVWA, your damn vulnerable web app. But then these platforms weren't out yet. I think most of the platforms that you mentioned, they are starting like the late 2016, early 2017, I want to say.
Hmm.
So there's still practically new. So yeah, I mean, YouTube is a great one. You have all this, great content creators that are out there. You have your John Hammond, you have Cyber Mentor, you have Stoke, you have Insider PhD, you have all these different people that I can just name in my industry at least. You can go and watch and learn from them. With bug bounties, the cool thing is, with a pen testing gig, or you want to become a pen tester, it requires you to get a job as a pen tester, right? You have to apply, become a pen tester, or you launch your own firm, you get a client, and then you can do that on your own. The beauty of bug bounties is that you don't have that barrier to entry anymore. You can start doing bug bounties right off the bat. If you're, I'd not want to glorify and encourage people to go work for free hacking on full disclosure programs where they don't pay you. But if you really want to learn how to hack, you have these real companies with a real infrastructure that they're asking you to look for vulnerabilities. They're less saturated in your bug bounty programs because people like myself and the hackers that are doing this for a living or for their wages, they're not going to go look at these VDPs. But that's how I started. There's a couple of VDP programs and a couple of bug bounty programs that I hacked on all of them. The bug bounty was to, make some extra cash when I was in college so I can pay my bills. And then the VDPs were like the CTF. Like, I just want to learn how to look for X vulnerability, Y method, whatever that is. So you have that, and it's very much more hands-on, and it's just, up to you to go ahead and do it. But I think the key to all of it is the consistency of staying consistent, whether you are learning, whether you're hacking, whether you are taking a break from hacking, but you have to stay consistent with it. It's really hard to grasp a method or a vulnerability type if you do it on a Monday to learn the basics, and then you go back to it like on Friday or Saturday to like practice it, right? So you got to stay consistent with, I'm not saying burn yourself out. I'm not saying, spend 8 hours, 9 hours a day doing it, but it's just make a schedule for yourself, or, make a goal for yourself, not even a schedule, set a goal for yourself that I want to learn this and I want to find this vulnerability, and then go after a lot of those different, resources that are out there. I actually do have a free, completely free resource that, and I can't share on Zoom. Unfortunately, it's not for my permissions. It won't let me do it because I just reinstalled Zoom. But I can put it in the chat. Maybe one of you guys could show it on here. But if you go to GitHub and you look it up under my GitHub repos, it's called Naham 6 Bug Bounty Resources, and it's beyond bug bounties. It just allows you to just look at everything that's out there. It goes from talks to YouTube channels, to platforms, to courses that are free, to resources that are free that have been created. And I've curated that with a bunch of people in the past. Yeah, there we go. That's just absolutely for free. If you scroll down, it's categorized at the bottom. It's, you have your books, you have your blog post, and it breaks down into different categories as well. I think this is a really good place to start, and also point you to labs that you can learn. There are a couple of really good ones out there that you can pick. It just comes down to what you like, as how you absorb knowledge on your own, and just picking that out and choosing it, right?
Really recommend Hat Tricks.
Yeah.
Good resource list.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's like a bug bounty, and then there's like a second step of it is like I have this like 4-step, I call it a 4-step plan. Like, I think it's anything you do. It's one, it's like you learn things, you get started, you learn and get better, you get good, then you start contributing. And that the third step is the biggest one. You first you start absorbing everyone's content. You go on Twitter, you read their blog posts, their research. You go on, HackerOne, and you look at disclosed reports from other hackers. And then the third is like you actually contributing to that. And that's something that really helped me in my career was, okay, I know how to do all these vulns. Where can I do research? I started doing, my biggest and most favorite time of it was I really dug into SSRFs, server-side request forgeries. We realized like PDFs are vulnerable to them. You find all these different libraries that are vulnerable, different techniques to exploit them. And I spent a year researching that. That was not only helping me learn, but also it contributed to the entire ecosystem of bug bounties because other people I know were using that research to find vulnerabilities for themselves. And when you start to explore research or just learn things in a deeper level, it becomes easier to explain it to people. And I think you don't know technical content until you can break it down so you can explain it to a 9 or 10 year old who's on a computer. Like, hey, what is XSS? It's kind of hard to explain that if you don't know it in depth, right? So that was the thing that like really helped me, not only teaching people and doing research, it just really helped me understand it in a deep way so I can also understand it better for myself.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, and I'm just sitting here thinking like, wow, there's, this is what's fun about our community is that like that people are willing to share the knowledge and share the resources. We did a separate podcast with a gentleman where their credo was like, hey, the knowledge that we learn, we want to share with the world, and I think that's I feel like that's fairly unique in the security space, but I mean, such a big part of who we are as an industry, and so like one appreciate this all the resources you just shared, but I think also what's important, like this was kind of where I was early on in my career was, well, I'm just learning all this stuff. I'm not sharing anything new. Like like I don't. You kind of get that imposter syndrome. Was like I don't have anything really to share. And I think it's an important like aspect to focus on that's not true. Like anything that you've learned, there's probably somebody else that still wants to learn that too.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and even the veterans or the folks that have been around a long time still have to find ways to learn new things. And so it can help perpetuate the cycle of like even more new and emerging talent can identify research in elements that they think is not novel, and may not be novel, but it still is a benefit to everybody else, right? So,
Yeah, and I mean, what I've found too is like sometimes the best time I learn is when I'm mentoring somebody. I'll be walking them through something and have a light bulb go off and say, "Oh, I didn't even think to do it this way. Let me write that down and try that out later." So yeah, the giving back to the community and mentoring, and it's a great community for that, and I think it's unique as well in that respect.
And like if we were watching this, like, oh well, I don't have any like cool research or bug bounties that I've done that I can write. Honestly, like even going and solving a CTF, whether it's an easy room, medium, hard, people are still going to look for those. What you were saying earlier, Dan, of like, even though you have solved it, maybe somebody else wants to learn from it. Honestly, that contributes. And it's also just such a good place to showcase your talent, to put on your resume, to showcase your research, showcase your skills, your soft skills, not only as a hacker, technical stuff, but also being able to write that out and give it to other people to absorb and learn from it. I think it could even be that. There's so many times that I'm looking for a technique that there's two ways that I search for things. Outside of using AI, it's like I want to look for this specific research. I type in whatever research name, bug bounty, or then I look whatever research way, CTF. Because either there's a CTF or a real scenario out of this thing that somebody has solved. And there are times when it's like the super simple CTFs that people just index on their blogs.
mhm.
So people that are watching is that it doesn't have to be discouraging. Like I encourage you to write down your CTFs that you find that you solve that you participate in a CTF for a conference, for example, or whatever platform that you have hacked on. Write those down. It just helps other people, and also you realize like, how did I come to this conclusion? How do I explain that to somebody else, right? Because we just come up with random thoughts, and then sometimes it works, right? It's whatever sticks, whatever you throw at the wall and it sticks. That also helps to tell people like your perspective too. So I think perspective is a big deal, especially in our field.
Yeah, and consistency. There's plenty of people out there that I've seen go from zero experience and they're putting Twitter posts out there every day saying I hit this hack the box. I think there was one guy named Jacob Krell. You know, I saw his post for a year before he even got a job, and it was that consistency. It's setting out to do something and doing it continuously, you're going to learn how to do it at the end of the day. So yeah, I really echo what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, and I think, all that, and then just continuing to stay connected to the community. I mean, getting involved in local chapters of, whether it's like DEF CON chapters or even like the
East side.
Besides,
B-sides and things like that. And almost every one of those events is putting on CTFs too, right? I mean, so opportunities exist all over the place to kind of keep testing your skills, and then being able to take advantage of some of the courses that are new and emerging. We mentioned some of the other resources, but we had Jason Haddix on a while back, related to AI and some of the work that he's doing, and he has a new course, all around purple teaming and using AI for that. And so that's what's fun, is like you just continue to see everybody continue to contribute to helping us learn so that we can accomplish the mission. Because what's fairly unique about our space is that regardless of who we work for, or like, in what industry, we're all on the same mission of helping those organizations be more secure, stay safe against, the modern threat actors and threat techniques. And so you always have to kind of stay one up, and you can only do that, through the community that we have, right? So.
yeah, and I want to also mention, like you kind of talked about the CTFs that happen at other conferences. A lot of times those CTFs are also available if you don't attend the conference. And B, there are so many cool like Discord communities now out there that you can join and do CTFs with. I know my Discord does that. I know John's Discord does that. There's a couple of them that do it. There's a bunch that you can just join, and they have their own like quote unquote teams that you can join and do. And the cool thing about this is like you make friends through these CTFs. That's one of the things that really helped me with my bug bounty hunting. Was I just created my own community because there wasn't a community back there. But I found a couple of people that were like about the same level, maybe a little bit higher than I was when I was first starting. And I was showing them things that I thought everybody knew, and they're like, "No, how'd you think of this?" And then they were doing the same thing for me, right? So just a collaboration of finding someone that you can hack with, and maybe you're doing the same, a web CTF or the same like level on the CTF, and you can collaborate with, just making that friend, making those connections, and also just bouncing ideas off of each other is like massive. So I recommend either looking for a sub community somewhere, or if it's not local in person, Discord is a great one to go after.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, back to being an open community, like I know hackers look scary, but we generally want to talk to people. So reach out and make the connection, because I have not met really anyone since coming into this industry that has ever been like, no, you can't do it. Everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to help the next person up. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we're a very inclusive community, and the other thing is I think we're all like at some point we're misfits in our lives.
I'm not going to comment on that one.
So I think we're just all misfits at some point in our lives, right? But we always want to find our people that we want to hang out with, and we always want to fit into a community. And I think that's what makes our community so welcoming, is because you have all these different sub communities, you have all these different villages at DEF CON that have their own communities, and then each of those communities at DEF CON have their own sub communities, and it's just, I think there is a place for everybody. We just have to find your friends.
Yeah, and with a new venue, there's more space.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. I mean, I think we kind of set out to kind of talk through the impact that AI is having on the industry, and the cutting edge trends that we're seeing in the space. I think we talked a lot about what AI, the impact AI is having on those trends, and what we're seeing in pen testing and bug bounty. And then also how to continue to keep your skills up leveled, and the resources that are available. So I mean, I really enjoyed the conversation. I think we kind of plugged it, throughout the conversation, but obviously, PlexTrac, we can really assist you in your report writing capabilities and aggregating data across your tests. And we do have an AI module that helps automate the report writing process. So shameless plug, but definitely if you're interested in that, please give us a holler. Check us out at a demo. Ben, is there anything you want to share with the audience about other resources and things that you're working on that you wanted to promote?
Yeah, I mean, the resource that I shared on that page has almost everything that I've collected over the years. Hopefully, it's going to get a massive update soon. Other than that, I mentioned I have a company called Hacking Hub. Most of our resources are free. I think like 90% of it is free. There's a lot of different modules on there you can try out. Again, you just have to sign up with an account, and everything else is free. But that's about it. I think a lot of our resources are, for our community, it's free, and it's great to see everyone's contributing to it. So,
Yeah. And I think I called it out last time I was on one of these, but InfoSec Black Friday, if you go look up that GitHub repository, it has the last few years of different InfoSec deals, accounts and things like that during Black Friday, and it's a great way to up level your skill set, without impacting your wallet super hard. So always recommend that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, this has been a great conversation, great webinar. I hope it was valuable to those that joined us today. Stay tuned for the winners of the Amazon gift cards. We'll announce those on LinkedIn. And just wish you guys a great rest of your day, and happy hacking as you continue to up level your skills. Ben, thanks so much again for joining us. We appreciate your time and all the knowledge that you have to bring, and look forward to chatting with you all again soon.